How do you make those trips cheaper? Because really some of the figures, you wonder if they are really justifiable.
Well, I'm glad you've raised that question, because let me explain it this way. The president and the deputy president don't get involved in logistics. There is a team in the presidency that sits and look at our trips. And it's a team that has the CFO in it, and they already have what I would say a framework on how they deal with that. For instance, when the president and deputy president travels, they have to find a presidential suite in a hotel, particularly because we are working. So what happens that, let's say, as I go to, let's take Japan, the one that was raised, they would look at hotels in a city where I'm going to have meetings. Maybe 5 hotels, then they'll decide, okay, which one has the facilities we need, whether it's a boardroom, for me to meet with the ministers I'm traveling with, or ministers from that country, business people, etc. Are there facilities that we need, printers, desks to work, etc., etc. Now you would find that the ultimate venue they'll decide on might not be the cheapest. You get what I mean? So it might be the one that is closer to where the meetings are. It might be the one that has all the facilities. They then take a decision to say we will use this one. Of course, always conscious of the fact that we should not be extravagant.
Yes.
But one of the things that many people may not immediately be aware of is that some of these cities we go to are very expensive by their nature. I mean, if you go to Tokyo, very expensive city, same as the others that we've been to, like, London, Paris.
Yes.
But we do take care of making sure that we are not extravagant. For instance, let me just make last example. When I visited China last year, in 2023, the best way to get to where I was going was to charter a flight. Because the plane I have can't reach those destinations, same as the president sometime. And then I asked the office, so if I don't have a plane, I charter a plane, how much will it cost? And they said 18 million. So I said, 18 million just for one trip. They said, that's what it is. And I said to them, no, I'll travel commercial.
Yes.
So we do take care that we can save as much as we can. I mean, I could have said, yeah, well, deputy president must travel privately, therefore bring a chartered plane. But I said, no, I'll travel commercial. In fact, all my trips now internationally, I travel commercial because it's too expensive.
Yes.
But when it comes to venues, it's sometimes difficult to get a proper venue where your meetings are. So you'd find that cheaper venues are actually out of town.
Yeah.
Then you need to travel back. There's congestions in these cities and so on. But we agree with everybody who's critical about our expenses that we will do as much as we can not to be extravagant, try and save as much as we can. It's quite difficult in some of these big cities. Yeah.
Staying with international relations, they're taking credit for work done by previous ministers. What is your view?
Well, I was asked a question recently about the GNU, I think, when I was addressing students at Harambee. And I said to them, if I were to score GNU, I'll give it 8 out of 10. And
that's generous.
Very generous, but it is because I observe its performance. There is this issue that some ministers are doing better than the others. It may well be true, but my observation as a leader of government business, I see ministers who are all performing. Others get more publicity than others. There are ministers who are good at publicizing their work, what they are doing. There are others who are not very good at that, but it doesn't mean they are not working. So it's always that challenge that, some ministers, when they go and launch something, they already have the media there, everything. Some ministers don't, and it's across the board.
Yes.
It's not just ANC, for instance, versus DA. There are DA ministers who are not vocal when it comes to media, but there are others who are.
Yes.
Everything they touch, the media is there.
Yeah.
of course, there was this argument that some of the things that the DA ministers are announcing were started by ANC ministers. It is true. But you can't fault them because, when there's a new minister, that minister is now in charge, yes. And they have to announce those things. And sometimes it will come across as if it's their new ideas, because ministers don't necessarily want to give credit to the predecessor. They have arrived.
Yes.
So it's me. I've arrived, I'm doing this thing. But if you look at the GNU as a whole, it is working as a team. When we get to cabinet, we are one team,
yes.
Responsible for implementation and accountable to the president. In the cabinet, there is no DA minister, ANC minister, Patriotic Alliance. No, it's one team. And everybody has accepted that. That's how we approach our work. And that has helped us to focus and really do the important things that we need to do. One of them is focus on the economy. Inclusive economy, create jobs, deal with challenges that people are facing in terms of the cost of living, but also make sure that the state itself is capable. We must build a developmental, ethical, capable state that must be able to deliver. That is what is happening, and the GNU is working very hard. And I think, although there have been some problems in the past, especially with the VAT, the arguments, but beyond that, I think we're very focused.
Which leads me to my next question about the problems that you are referring to that have taken place. But I want your personal view now, not a party view or a government view. Given those problems that you are talking about, if it was up to you, would you have composed the GNU in its current form?
We had a lot of debate in the party itself. In fact, many people don't even know that the DA was not the first party we met. When we're looking at how do we create a coalition government. But there was a principle underlying our approach, and that principle was, let's work with everybody. And once we agreed, we started approaching EFF, MK Party, DA, all 19 parties were met by ANC negotiators. Of course, in the course of those engagement, others decided, no, we're not coming in. DA was one of those that said, we will come in. They tried, the DA, to say, no, but why don't we do a deal between the ANC and the DA? Because we've got the majority. If you take the ANC is 48 and the DA is 20-something, we cross the 50-plus mark. So basically they're saying, well, we don't need these others. And we said, no. Let's bring everybody who is willing to come in. And I supported that view myself. And I was very clear that I think that's the best approach. Those who didn't want to come in, we tried to persuade them, because I wanted all these parties to come. I thought it would be good to have the EFF there, MK Party there. But the EFF said, well, as long as you have DA there, we're not coming.
Yeah.
Same as the MK Party. So it's not that we were picking and choosing.
Yes.
We basically say, let's work with everybody. I know that, some people were saying, well, Mashatile does not want the DA, he prefers EFF. No, that's not true. I'm determined to work with anybody who was committed that we should work together. I knew that there will be quarrels in there. We don't come from the same school of thought as these parties. But a minimum program that we agreed on is a basis on which we move ahead. That's why I was able to pull together, the clearinghouse mechanism. Some people say, well, has the clearinghouse succeeded? Has it failed? What is it doing? Now, the clearinghouse only meets when there's an issue referred to by the leaders.
Yes.
We did the Bella Act. And by the way, even in the GNU, we didn't have absolute consensus. The DA was still, I think the DA and the Freedom Front Plus were not agreeing with the language issue. But at the end, I said to them, guys, I think we need to move ahead now.
Yes.
We will note your concerns, but we have to move ahead. So some felt a bit being bulldozed, that they are not agreeing, particularly the DA, but we said, no, we need to move on. We need to if we have a minimum agreement on moving ahead, let's move on. Sufficient consensus should be enough. We're not agreeing on everything, but we can move ahead, and we did. And the schools are working. We're going ahead. Schools are open to all children. Many of our children want to learn in the language of their mother tongue, and that's what we were fighting for.
But there are suggestions that in an event that the current president does not finish his term, which we know is not far-fetched because the two previous presidents of the country didn't finish their second terms. There are suggestions that if that happens, and then you come in the event that you win the ANC presidency, and that then the GNU current form, in this current form, will change, and that fear also is found in the DA. We're saying that they have that fear of that happening.
No, that's well. Anybody who comes in as a leader of the ANC would have no reason to change it if it's working well, me included. So people must relax.
Yeah.
We are happy with the GNU, and as long as it continues to work in the way it works, no problem.
There are concerns about the